welcome back to the weekly review with me, Siti Nurabsa Juswar. Alright, now moving along for our today's segment, office rentals in Kuala Lumpur had remained stable over the past 3 years until end of 2011 when easing concerns over a possible property bubble. So this is based on data from the Purpose-Built Office Rent Index Wilayah Persekutuan Kuala Lumpur or PBO-RI WPKL, produced by National Property Information Centre or NAPIC, a unit under the Valuation and Property Services Department of the Finance Ministry. Our journalist Charlene Park has more on the details. Charlene.
Rentals for purpose-built offices in suburban areas outside Kuala Lumpur are expected to rise with vibrant business activities, good information and communications technology (ICT) and government projects. Valuation and Project Services Department JPPH said the development of purpose-built office rent PBO-RI is to serve the local industry players, specifically investors, as a guide on current market rents between sub-regions and building grades in Kuala Lumpur. Director General JPPH Datuk Abdullah Talif Muhammad Tani said allocation of office spaces have shifted into the suburban areas that spans from Petaling Jaya to Selayang in recent years.
Property, rental of office closely related kepada the performance of the economics. That's what we find out. Kalau you check the graph kan, yang kita ada tu kan, dengan the GDP of the country kan, you will see the correlation, and you will see the correlation are entirely different. Okay, for a business place, then there must be a flow of pedestrian, isn't it? A flow of people coming in, but not office, you know. Okay, so that's the reason why you see also, you know, in suburban, you know, it is higher. Because people are running away from the jam, running away from the traffic. Then you ask me why in KLCC GT is high, isn't it? I mean, everybody wants to have the address there. Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to have the address in the tower, the twin tower. Am I not right? But not everybody can go into the twin tower. That push up the rental.
Abdullah Talif said this at the PBO-RI launch in Kuala Lumpur recently. He said the conceptualization of their idea to develop the index started as early as 1997, which was then known as Office Performance Index. The research efforts to build the index only took form in 2008. He added that PBO-RI gives an indication for international companies to ascertain the competitiveness of the office market in Kuala Lumpur. Abdullah Talif said PBO-RI offers data and information to support investment decisions for financial market participants. The timely PBO-RI provides national indicators required for policy purposes. From the first quarter of 2009 to the first quarter of 2011, average rental hovers below 4 ringgit per square foot per month and increased above 4 ringgit per square foot per month beginning the second quarter of 2011. Abdullah Talif said rental rates for purpose-built offices in Kuala Lumpur were generally stable in the last 3 years, except for certain suburban and city centre areas which showed an upward trend. The rent index has 4 regions, namely Kuala Lumpur City Centre, Golden Triangle, KLCC GT, Central Business District, CBD, within City Centre, and Suburban. According to the rent index, average monthly rentals for purpose-built offices in the WCC region had increased gradually from 2.92 ringgit per square foot in the first quarter of 2009 to 3.46 ringgit per square foot in the fourth quarter of 2011. For the entire Kuala Lumpur region under review, average monthly office rentals had increased slightly over a 3-year period from 3.91 ringgit per square foot in the first quarter of 2009 to 4.04 ringgit per square foot in the fourth quarter of 2011. The observation in the fourth quarter of 2011 has recorded the average rate of office rental to be 4.66 ringgit per square foot per month in KLCC GT, 3.27 ringgit per square foot per month for Centre Business District, 3.46 ringgit per square foot per month within City Centre, and RM3.51 per square foot per month for suburban areas of Wilayah Persekutuan. Abdullah Talib further adds JPPH intends to produce PBO-RI every half year for the country's main cities, including Georgetown and Johor Bahru.
Well, moving on now, Edaran Tanjung Motor Sendirian Berhad, or ETCM, a wholly unit of Tanjung Motors Holdings Berhad, is optimistic that the market share for Nissan cars will recover to 5.6% from 5.3% in the first 5 months of the year. So Executive Director Datuk Dr. Ang Boon Beng said ETCM was on track to outpace the total industry volume TIV 2012 estimated growth of 2.5% for Nissan sales. Weekly Review had a chat with Dr. Ng to talk more about the company and its growth. Alright, Datuk, can you tell us more about the Nissan sales target for this year, or maybe your predictions for next year too?
Well, I think we are confident that the Nissan sales volume this year will exceed the industry growth. Of course, the TIV, as you know very well, that the TIV as forecasted by MAA is around 6.15 as compared with last year's about 2.5% growth. So why we say we also want to exceed the industry growth, simply because our supply chain has been fully recovered due to the Thai flood, and we will introduce many models in this year, in particular in the B segment, where I think Nissan is currently not represented, and increased sales volume will enhance the Nissan market shares accordingly.
Right.
So we are confident that this year I think we should do slightly better than last year.
Okay, so we talk about Nissan product right now. Recently, Nissan launched a Nissan Leaf Ambassador. Can you tell us more on the product itself?
Okay, I think basically I think we are actually in line with the government policy to promote, to take care of the environment. At the same time, also this is part of our social responsibility program that we want to actually create awareness for the public to fully support how to take care of the environment. And this EV, I have been asked many times, is not for sales. It's basically to create awareness that we need to actually protect the environment. We are in a auto car player where I think we contribute very much to this area. That's why we want to bring in this zero emission mobility, where I think EV is virtually no emission at all. So to create awareness, to educate, to share our Nissan future aspiration to the public, that we are prepared to support in line with the government direction in a green technology, to reduce the emission.
So, but the thing is, do you perceive that Malaysian in general is ready for such cars? I mean, we actually have more cars. I mean, SPM leavers can get their own car too. I mean, for such a tender age. I mean, do you think that EV cars is the way to go for Malaysia then?
Yeah, well, to accept this really a big change, to accept big change, or we call it more than a change, is not so easy. So it needs a lot of support from various sectors. Like in particular, I think the government must have a political wish. In particular, the government must actually support. But I'm glad to say that the government actually is working towards this direction. So I think it will take a while. But I think for Malaysian, I think Malaysia is one of the developing country among the ASEAN. So by looking into this scenario, that I think the hybrid vehicle are quite well accepted. As at this year, half year, I think we already sold about 5,000 over units. That shows, I think, Malaysians are starting to adopt, to accept this big change, in particular, how to actually protect the environment and at the same time to take care of the next generations. Right. I'm confident that give them some time, I think Malaysian will accept this drastic change in technology.
But the thing is, I mean, Malaysia mentality, I mean, we have that mentality. We don't really like change. How do you perceive that Nissan actually for this Nissan Leaf ambassador?
That's the reason why we have to, before sales, we have to come up with we call it a pilot program, you know, to educate the public at large that what are the benefits. This is not something like we want to do sales. What are the benefits to introduce less emission, but for us it's zero emission vehicle. What are the benefits? Basically is to reduce emission and to actually to protect the environment and actually to bring all the good outcome for the human being, in particular for the next generations. So I think I'm still advocate that in time to come, I think the Malaysian people will slowly buy in this great idea of zero emission or hybrid vehicles that can reduce the emission in this environment.
Right, you're right. So when you said that hybrid cars, for now, for Nissan hybrid cars, your total sales for about like 5,000 cars, 5,000 units thus far currently.
Yeah.
But isn't that 5,000 actually not really good for car sales quantity per se?
Yeah, of course, based on compared with the total industry, I think volume is still very small.
Yep.
But I think it will gradually expand because first, I think the price is the cost of the car, and unfortunately, I think the government actually extended a free duty exemption for this vehicle. So also this is part of the government complementation to promote hybrid car. So I can see that over time, because of the big volume, economic scale, all these hybrid car or EV car, the cost of the car will gradually reduce. And as far as Nissan is concerned, we designed this EV or Leaf is actually for the mass market, and we want to call it a very affordable EV for the mass market. So if other people also doing that, I think in time to come, the price of the EV or hybrid will be actually very close to the conventional car. Right. So I think one of the biggest challenge is the price of the car still very high.
Very high. Malaysia is very high.
People are still very skeptical about this new technology, and still people were wondering how to repair this car.
Yeah,
so
because people think that, oh, this car runs on battery will be lowered. I mean, how can I just plug into the Petronas petrol station and please sir, can I plug in for my car? I want to charge the car. What? Do you have? I mean, Nissan can actually overcome that problem then.
Yeah, I think okay, we have to call it modular type of processes of doing this. I think currently we only look at the regional. Like for instance, we want to introduce our EV only in Kuala Lumpur. I think according to a survey, normally majority of the consumer or customer who use a car, when they travel, the range of travel is around about 100 kilometers. So I think for Leaf, per charge, you actually can let you travel around 160 kilometers. Okay.
That's
So that's sufficient for you to travel within the town. But to go across to other state or other country, other city, so I think you need charging, the infrastructure to provide you to charge. So that one, I think over time, I think very soon, I think that infrastructure will be resolved, in particular with the public and private collaboration, and with a very innovative type of charging system. I think that issue will be resolved.
So on the case of the 5,000 units sold already, I mean, do you have any target for the rest of the year for these hybrid car units target?
Target, no. I think if we look at half year, they already achieved 5,000 over units. About, I think to be more exact, about 5,005. So we anticipate that this year, I think the sales will be around 10,000 plus, as compared with last year, 8,000 over units. So there's a incremental sales in this hybrid sales.
Exactly.
So that also is a good reflection that consumer are now getting more and more interested in buying this hybrid car.
Exactly. So, I mean, consumer is getting more interested. Do you think that it is because Malaysia is starting to realize that we have to protect the environment then?
Yeah, I think as I think Kita already make it very clear that they come up with a roadmap that I think they also want to look at this environmental problem, in particular the vehicle. You know. So I think government also, I think we also know that the new this auto policy also going towards this direction, as announced by the Ministry of Trade and MET. You know. So they are talking about also the next NAP will be very much focused on the EEV, energy efficient vehicles. So that shows that the government also putting very much interest, and this is also a very strong political view by the government that the environment is very, very important, in particular in the auto sector. So I think all the auto players also aligning with this direction. That's why you can see that the EV has been slowly getting stronger and stronger present in this country. That's also the reason why Nissan also bringing the Leaf to complement this direction. You know. So we are fully support with this environmental approaches.
So the national automotive policy, as you said, I mean, will for this year will be more towards the EV cars. So do you think that, I mean, as you said, with the political side of the government, so do you think that it has anything to do with the general election that is coming in? It's benefits for you too, right? For Nissan to actually,
I think you should separate this NAP and this election. I think it's a separate issue. I think basically, I think as far as I'm concerned, I think there's nothing to do with the NAP. Is nothing to do with election. But I know very well that the deferment of this announcement of the NAP is to do with I think government still want to find out more detail how to come up with a very holistic direction of this EEV. That's the reason why I think the government may take a while. So a lot of people thought that why NAP is not announced, when it's going to announce, after election or before election, you know. So I think as far as I know, I don't think it's nothing to do with the election, you know. So I think just because the government is finding the right timing to get all the detailed information in order to come up with a very holistic, effective, and realistic direction of this EEV.
Right. So talking about other projects in the pipeline, what are Nissan's other projects after Nissan Leaf? Okay,
I think our direction, I think as far as Nissan is concerned, or we call it Chong, Malaysia, come to environment, we want to actually play our part. We want to bring in Leaf or maybe some hybrid vehicles to complement, to support the government to fulfill the green technology directions. Then at the same time also we want to bring in the conventional engine that reduces the emission, you know. Also indirectly also helping to reduce the emission. So this is our direction. Of course, I think for Nissan, I think we have absent from many segments, in particular the big segment. So we also want to bring in smaller car. So because smaller car actually you will not consume more petrol. We actually reduce the emission also. So they are, in short,
so attracting more consumers to actually buy Nissan cars.
Yeah, we are trying to say that we also want to, as a whole, our whole approach of doing business in the future is at the same time to consider environmental problems.
Exactly. So that is Nissan move towards environmentally friendly cars. So before we end our sessions today, can you tell us your projections or your target for Malaysian automotive sector for the next 8 years, maybe for Nissan or Chong?
Yeah, well, I think in Malaysia, I think as you know very well that our car population is rather saturated because the population is only 28 million.
Yep.
And our car every year is about 600 over 1,000. So for the next 8 years, there is still growth, but I think it's very gradual, and the growth will be single digits, about 2 to 3% for the next couple of years, as compared with our neighboring country like Thailand and Indonesia. The growth is fantastic because.
Is this because our cars are too expensive then?
No, it's I think very much to do with our population, and our growth is already come to close to the ceiling. You know, I call it quite saturated. The growth is rather small. You know? But for country like Indonesia, 230 million, something like that. You know, so the population is, you know, about it should be 2-3 million. You know, but currently I think they are challenging for to cross 1 million. I think they also forecasted in 2012 they want to achieve about 940,000 TIV for Indonesia.
940,000.
But for Thailand, I think this year they are forecasting about 1.1 million vehicle sales. So for Thailand, I think the population about 2 times. For Indonesia, I think it's almost 8 to 10 times as compared with Malaysia. So the growth, the space of growth is there, you know. So for Malaysia, I think ours is more on gradual and more on the replacement vehicles rather than entry. You know. The entry segment will be rather small, as compared with Thailand and Indonesia.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Datuk Dr. Beng, for having us here at your office right here. Okay. Now, my name is Siti Nopsa Juswa. So this is another segment of the weekly review with Executive Director of Edaran Tanjung Motor Sendirian Berhad. This is a weekly review. Thank you for watching. Bye bye. Well, there you go, something about office rentals in Kuala Lumpur to attract more foreign direct investment, and some, you know, car fetish for your undesirable or desirable efforts, you say that. So don't switch that channel just yet. We'll be right back after this with, you know, some lightweight stories instead, huh? Stay tuned with us.